There's many variables that determine the price of a diamond. So it's the cut, color, clarity, and carat.
Welcome to a world where rock and roll meets elegance, and being tough is just as important as being refined.
Just write down we want to make 2 more mom tattoos with black diamonds.
Such is the life of Catherine Angiel, a true original in the world of high-end jewelry design, and a favorite of Hollywood's elite and New York's most distinguished.
She believed in herself and what she had to create in the world, even in an industry that probably wasn't so easy to break into.
But breaking through is the very definition of Catherine Angel's rise to the top.
She's got so much confidence in herself, but she had the school of hard knocks.
I wasn't going to conform to what they wanted from me.
Here's someone who came from nothing and became successful. How'd she do it?
Let's figure out how many diamonds this dragon will take.
For most anyone, working with diamonds, platinum, and gold usually means working in the heart of New York City.
47th Street is, in my estimation, the jewelry center of the world.
A sophisticated, big money world that's always been long on tradition and resistant to change.
There were almost no women working in this field that I had encountered.
The diamond business was run by old white men.
But that all changed when Catherine Angiel showed up.
Hey, how are you?
Now a sought-after designer for New York's coolest consumers. From hipsters to celebrities like Ethan Hawke and Courtney Cox. From women to men, edgy to sleek, Catherine's designs have turned her Greenwich Village shop into one of New York's hottest jewelry destinations, this side of 47th Street.
You feel sort of a connection with her when you go into her boutique. It's very welcoming, and it has that sort of neighborhood feeling, but yet at the same time, it's kind of mysterious.
All because it's filled with a completely new take on a traditional medium. And with each visit to Catherine's store, one never knows what jeweled innovations might await.
She has vintage pieces, but she also has the dangerous line. She kind of made that pathway for this new rock and roll feel of jewelry.
It was the Dangerous collection that put Catherine on the map. A gutsy attempt to create a line of jewelry that blends all aspects of her own personality. Having boosted her sales to well over $1 million a year, it's a collection she cherishes on every level.
I wanted to have the movement as though it's slithering, kind of like a very soft S.
What she's done is taken that street influence of the tattoo, for example, and made it into this sort of high art form of diamonds. But she's done it in such an interesting way because she's taken black diamonds and mixed them with white diamonds in ways that we haven't seen before.
It's a little bit renegade, a little bit punky. I think that definitely is something that Catherine stands for and something that people associate with her.
I love how you can have diamonds with an edge.
Catherine's developed her edge the honest way, on a road paved with obstacles. From the very beginning, she's fought her way through.
I had to really push my way in. None of this was easy. My art, the gift I'm very grateful to have, that comes easy. But the business, that was very difficult.
Her strength of purpose came early, far from the downtown Manhattan life she lives now. Born in the 60s, times were tough but full of love across the bridge.
I was born in the Bronx in 1961, and my mom wanted to move us into a better place, you know, a safer place to live. So we packed up the car and we moved to Flushing, Queens.
They weren't well off by any means, you know, it was a struggle to live. And they grew up in a one-bedroom place, and you had her 2 brothers and, you know, everyone living there.
It was really close quarters, but, you know, we didn't know any different. It was hard. It was a different time.
And in time, Catherine came to realize there must be more.
It's a great motivator. You know, if you're living under those conditions, I mean, what motivates you to rise above something and go and do it? I mean, you're hungry to get out.
The young Catherine was hungry to do a lot of things. Always creative, she took to drawing, sketching, and early on found her other passion, drumming.
At 6 years old, she was playing drums and playing by ear, not even to read the music or go to music school to learn.
But drumming wasn't her only obsession. During weekly trips to buy groceries with her father, the store's gumball machine held particular magic.
My father would always buy me a piece of jewelry, of course plastic jewelry. And I would run home and I would just, take the bracelet and the ring and I'd mix the stones up because I was like, this needs to get redesigned. I have to fix this. So I redesigned the jewelry in my room and that was like, I figured everybody did that, right?
Be it design, drumming, or dreaming, Catherine's childhood was one long creative venture after another.
Back in high school, I was a little rocker. I was popular in school because I was playing gigs in clubs, and all the kids thought I was like, wow, a rock star.
She was like the hot chick in high school, Believe me, all the guys were chasing her. I can recall a couple boyfriends, and then I can also remember her with a couple girlfriends, too.
Growing up and knowing that I was attracted to women, in the back of my head somewhere, I definitely knew it had to be a secret. But yet, it didn't stop me from dating girls.
But being gay, even in the 70s, was extremely difficult. And to avoid problems in her traditional home, Catherine chose to keep her secret well hidden. In the meantime, she had more pressing things on her mind, like starting work at 15 to help out at home. Her first job, a salesgirl at a jewelry store, where, uninterested with the monotony of selling, Kathy would always escape to the back to watch the jeweler at work.
I was watching the jeweler create jewelry, and I was like, wow. I was fascinated, so I asked my boss one day. I said, do you think you could teach me that? And he was like, oh, sweetie. He said, you're a sales girl. Women aren't strong enough. You need strong hands. Women just can't do it. So I said to myself, watch me.
Coming up.
My brother found out from a girl that I was dating, and he told my family, and that was a tough period of my life.
When Women on Top returns.
Follow up on the other magazines and when we're getting stuff back also.
To make it in the diamond jewelry business, you have to be tough. And no one knows that better than Catherine Angiel.
Why don't we go with some of the smaller dragons and the beauty Asian symbol?
Celebrated for her edgy yet sophisticated designs, insiders know it's really been her gutsy attitude that's made all the difference. Beginning at 15, when, as a sales clerk, she was told she wouldn't have the strength to make jewelry. But with the jeweler out sick, Kathy finished a client's piece behind her boss's back, to rave reviews.
He said, this is done. Who did this? And she said, I did. He said to her, you have hands. And that was really the launch of what made her.
Having proven to herself that she had the craftsmanship, Catherine decided on the spot she'd learn every aspect of the jewelry business and hit New York's famed 47th Street.
I went from place to place to place asking for a job. 9 times out of 10, they saw a woman and that was it. I was not going to be hired.
Open to taking junior positions at minimum wage, Catherine did get work. Engraving, polishing, soldering, repairing, even sweeping floors. All to get her closer to her dream of learning the business of jewelry design.
She watched everybody and learned. She's got so much confidence in herself. But she had the school of hard knocks. It was a man's realm. I don't know how this little peanut got in there, but she pulled it off and she got them to respect her. A couple of them used to give her a hard time, but she would turn that around somehow.
Young and enthusiastic, she turned it all around with energy, work ethic, and budding talents.
I was very proud because she was so young and got into the business.
But just as her professional future seemed to be shaping up, her home life came unraveled when the secret she'd been keeping from her parents unexpectedly came out.
My brother found out from a girl that I was dating, and he told my family, and that was a tough period of my life.
It's a traditional Polish-Italian family. They had problems dealing with it, which of course affected her, unfortunately.
I wasn't going to conform to what they wanted from me. I had to be who I was. In everything I do, I just have to be who I am.
Leaving home at 18 to be true to who she was, she refused to lose hold of her plans and applied for a job that would boost her career to the next level, despite her minimal qualifications.
she fit the bill. I mean, it didn't matter to me whether she was a woman or not, as long as she could do the work, and she could.
Steve taught me a lot about producing jewelry, which I needed to know. So I was able to learn how to price it out. I learned everything I know about stones from him. He was a great teacher.
Great enough to inspire Catherine to seriously consider taking the next big step.
I really wanted to work on my own collection, and that seemed impossible.
Impossible, because she didn't have the money to buy the specialized equipment she would need. But everything changed when her best friend stepped in and built her first ever workbench.
I built the bench because I felt she needed something. She was going into the big leagues.
And that is the bench I started working on. And I would go to work and I'd come home and I'd start making jewelry little by little. And eventually I had a little collection of earrings that I made and designed that were my very own.
But to really get herself where she wanted to be, there was only one place for Catherine to turn, her estranged family.
I needed to move home. I needed Mom's help. I needed her to let me share that room with her so I can save up some money so I can open up that business. I was really determined, and I started doing work from her house, from her living room.
Kathy's parents had finally accepted her and welcomed her back into the house with open arms. Months later, she boldly walked into Bloomingdale's to sell her collection. While the jewelry buyer liked what she saw, she told Catherine her inventory was still too small for such a large store. The rejection was an unexpected stroke of luck.
I was very grateful for that moment because I walked right out, I walked right to the boutique next door and the guy bought the entire thing from me. COD, done. And I started doing business. And at that point when I earned enough capital, instead of going back to Bloomingdale's, I decided to open my own shop.
She opened that first shop with a business partner. And after 5 years of success in New York, she felt confident enough to expand. All the way to Los Angeles, where a casual lunch with her cousin, a lawyer at Warner Brothers, sparked a new opportunity.
I think I may have brought it up is, boy, you know, they're doing Christmas gifts here, and Kathy said, hey, they should be getting jewelry.
Feeling inspired, Catherine wrote a gutsy letter to the head of the studio.
It was probably like, Dear Mr. Bob Daly, please buy my jewelry. 2 weeks later, I'm meeting with the CEO of Warner Brothers with my jewelry. And immediately, I was his girl.
Catherine started designing gifts for studio executives and celebrities like Michelle Pfeiffer, and eventually was working throughout Hollywood.
I maybe got her in the door, but you know what? Once she got in the door, it was all on her. She either had to be a great salesperson, which she is, and she had to have the wares to deliver.
Business seemed to be booming, but back in New York, reality hit hard. While in LA, Catherine discovered that for some reason, her shop was in trouble.
I think the hardest thing for her was the fact that the person who she trusted was lying to her and was stealing from her.
Betrayed by her partner, Catherine was forced to close down the company she had worked so hard to build.
I was really devastated. It's like a broken dream when things don't work out.
After years of battling her way to the top, it was clear Catherine would have to start all over again. Coming up,
you're always going to have some backlash for people, and it depends on how you're going to weather it.
When Women on Top returns. Catherine Angiel is one of the hottest names in high-end jewelry. The woman, the designs, and the boutique are celebrated as being sophisticated and refined, with an edginess that has caught the attention of the fashionable and the famous.
This I was thinking of doing for contrast.
But back when she was forced to close down her first shop, the future didn't seem as promising.
I was exhausted, I was sad, I was drained, I was broke.
But what she wasn't was defeated. Walking through Greenwich Village one day, she saw a retail space for rent, and her desire to make it was refueled.
All of a sudden, this like bling, this is for rent sign. And I just called. I had no idea how to do retail. I just trusted I was going to figure it out. And I did it. I had no plan. I took that risk, and that was scary.
She opened up her store, then called Gallery Eclectic, in 1993. It was the same year Catherine took another risk that made her famous. A friend at Newsweek was working on a revolutionary story about mainstream lesbians and needed a cover image that would make an impact.
We decided to go toward sort of everyday people. Kathy started coming up big for me as being a possible candidate.
Well, I said immediately, and I felt this fear well up inside me, and I said, absolutely. The fear was my work associates had no idea, in this man's world that I was in, but it didn't matter. I had to do it because I knew how important it was to do that.
Posing with her partner at the time, the bold move marked Kathy as a role model in the gay community, but she wondered what impact the publicity would have on her business.
There was a few work associates freaked out by it, and that's okay, because for those people, and for the few clients that were just kind of like homophobic, I gained clients tenfold. And I'm not talking about gay and lesbian clients, everyone.
You're always going to have some backlash from people. And it depends on, how thick your skin is and how you're going to weather it.
She weathered it in characteristic style by creating the first ever commitment rings for same-sex couples, and later by designing a collection as true to her own personality as possible. The breakthrough Dangerous line. Inspired by some temporary tattoos she had given her friends for one of her weekly karaoke parties she calls Lounge.
There was dragons, and there was all kinds of Asian type of signs.
And all of a sudden, everybody's singing like rock stars, and they're having themselves such a good time, feeling very sexy. And at the end of the night, everybody's bummed out. They have to remove these tattoos and go to work the next day. And it dawned on me, I was like, wait a second. Why don't I just do these dragons with black diamonds?
And suddenly she just said, dangerous. It's dangerous. That's what it is. And it just all came together.
It felt right. It felt like that aha. Like it's been brewing or percolating for the past 40 years inside of me. And then all of a sudden the lid just blew off and it was like, whoa. I had to stop myself after the 200th piece that I designed. That's how this came flying out of me.
Inspired by her life's experiences, the Dangerous collection blends Catherine's two greatest passions, music and art. And with its unexpected success, revenues are soaring.
The mounting in white gold would be $1,050.
After rebuilding her business from rock bottom, these days, Catherine's focus is on enjoying the fruits of her success like never before. During the week, she lives in Manhattan, a block from her store. But on the weekends, she escapes to her house in Southampton, the gathering spot for her extended family and their infamous lounge parties.
We don't have kids. We're not, quote, married. We're each other's pals and each other's family.
But even with a family of people around her, Catherine's always been searching for that one person to settle down with for good.
She just wants to relax with somebody and be able to wake up on Sunday and pass the paper over with a coffee. Forever, and not worry about anything.
I really enjoy relationships more than actually I enjoy dating. I am with someone now. Do I hope it's her? Yes, of course.
We'll have an early dinner. It'll be fun.
Putting a ring on someone myself, I would like to think that maybe one day that's going to be a possibility.
But for now, the most pressing possibilities for Catherine are still geared towards work.
This is fantastic.
When you live in the fast lane, keeping it all going is always the hardest challenge of all.
We have a lot less money in setting fees by using the bigger stone, so that works perfect.
Catherine Angiel is at the height of her career. With a successful store and a business she built entirely on her own, she's at the cutting edge of the design world.
The Catherine Angiel piece doesn't look like anyone else's. It's a little scary when she rolls something new out because no one else is doing it.
And what keeps Catherine going is her passion and lust for life.
I just really like to have fun. I love celebrating life. So when I'm making a new collection, it's a celebration. When I'm having dinner with my friends, it's a celebration, it's not dinner. When I'm gardening, I'm celebrating the fact that I have a garden and I can make it beautiful.
I think she's successful because she has that inner fire and desire and passion. She doesn't stop. She's just really talented.
I think for her, it's not about the money, it's not about the status, it's more about the relationships. And her clients are loyal to her.
It's not just her clients that are loyal, but everyone that surrounds her. And to them, Kathy's designs and spirit are a source of inspiration.
She sounds immature.
It has her own brand, her own heart that comes from her life experiences. From being that little kid, growing up in that one-bedroom place, to living out in the Hamptons, it's a combination of that. And that's what sets it apart.
She really believed you gotta take what you've got and make something of it. She didn't think anything was a negative that she was dealt with. She fixed everything.
She's wild and she's fun, but deep down, she's very emotional and she's spiritual and she's very loving.
You will fall along the way as you're going after your dreams. There is no way you go from the beginning to the end without the middle. You have to have the guts to ride the tide and just go through the winding road to get to the other end. All the mistakes I've made, all the hardships I ever went through, all the wonderful things that have happened to me, has all brought me to where I am and who I am. And I'm really happy with who I am and exactly where I am right now. So it's a gift, and I wouldn't undo it for the world.